Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, bringing you a review of O'mega, the 8th studio album by the Dutch symphonic metal band Epica, set for release on the 26th of February 2021 via Nuclear Blast. Now, symphonic metal is not often my jam. I grew up on a diet of Nightwish within Temptation and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say I ever really loved a band. I liked a lot of the music. I've seen Nightwish live a few times, catch within Temptation a few years back at Bloodstock, and a few others here and there, but it's certainly not high on my list of favourite styles of metal. But if there is one that does excite me these more modern days, it is Epica. You know, it's in the title of the band's name. I expect epic music, and that's kind of what we got here. Expect magnificence, expect opulence, heaviness, and that's exactly what we get, provided as only Epica are capable of delivering. It isn't a name after all, as I said, in O'mega. It is the symphonic metal band rising up to once again take a place at the top table of this genre. If you think about it, like who is sitting at that top table, Epica are on there without a shadow of a doubt. And this is a sprawling epic. O'mega has a lot to take in, even if it's not necessarily more complex than what you might expect from the symphonic metal masters. You know, I do think listening to this album, you're not going to be going, oh my god, that's so unexpected. It's everything you might expect in that sense. It's not a slur, far from it. It's simply that Epica have become so adept at delivering these bombastic tunes over the many years that it seems to come quite easy to them, or at least listening to it, it seems to. It's probably, you know, the writing process is probably incredibly hard work. And one of the more appealing things about O'mega is how it tends to focus on the heavy metal part of their sound. This is a very heavy album where the drums and bass properly thump away. You get guitar humming with lively riffing, and of course, one of the biggest and most important things about the band, dueling vocals. One gruff, rooted in the death metal style can get very aggressive at times, and the other being Simone Simon's mezzo-soprano brilliance. She is such an incredible vocalist. Dare I say, the best vocalist in this style of music. And it's all of those elements, plus often a hyper tempo and a lavish symphonic accompaniment that kicks in with that first track, Abyss of Time, Countdown to Singularity, flying by in a blur of light, colours and sounds. Then when the likes of the skeleton key drops into melody, it's got fragility that shines through brightly. Both tracks as bombastic as each other, but in, I think, very differently pleasing ways. Faster, larger, more intense they go, with the meaty sound of Seal of Solomon and punchy orchestration of Gaia. The former drops in a guitar solo that is pretty goddamn good, while the latter's use of choir vocals adds some extra oomph to that track. You know, that's a word that constantly comes up throughout this album, oomph. So any point where it gets even bigger than that, such as on Gaia, it's really great. Then we get something with a bit of Middle Eastern flavour, as Code of Life shows off some variety. However, it's the strong main riff and incredible chorus that truly stands out on that track. Before we get the magnificence of Freedom, The Wolves Within, something like that's dark and does conjure up this image of, you know, beasts running out of a dark forest, sending shivers down the spines. It's followed by the monstrous effort of Kingdom of Heaven, Part 3, the Antivillian Universe. This is Epica at their largest. They then get Epica at the most soundtracky, and arguably Epica at the most polarizing. The latter, because up to this point, Epica have been dealing out fast-paced variety rooted in metal, basically. This track doubles the average length to about 13 minutes and focuses much more on the symphonic elements, turning and twisting in the wind like a paper bag. Is it stunning? I mean, of course it is. It absolutely is. Everything they do is. But there's no disputing that it's a challenge to get all the way through it without the mind beginning to wander off. It's so large, so encompassing. There's so much going on. There is a point where you kind of think, oh shit, I dropped out there. Let me get my mind back in focus. But thankfully there's no such problem for Rivers or Synergize Manic Manifest. The former, a ballad that highlights the strength in Simone's vocals while having a heavier touch towards the end. The latter proven to have a very apt name, as it burns with manic energy and screams explosive fireworks and pyro when played in the live environment eventually. At this point, it's like, wow, this album is massive, and it's like still here, still holding on to the O'mega train. Hopefully you are, as there's just a little further to go, and this train shows no signs of slowing down or coming off the rails. It, like Epica in general, it's too well put together. Twilight Reverie, the hypnagogic state, and O'mega, Sovereign of the Sun Spheres, sharing the distinct honor of being undoubtedly massive Epica tracks to close out the album, while having their own unique touches and flourishes to differentiate between them, which is a massive positive. Not just for these two, but as the album on a whole, overall. So much symphonic metal could start to mush and meld together, yet this never actually happens on this album, such as the power of Epica. And as I said at the start, their position at the top table is so well earned, and this album is just confirmation of that. I think it's great. I really do think it's a great album. And coming from a person who wouldn't class themselves as a big fan of symphonic metal, this is the kind of thing that I want to hear these songs live. There's a lot on this that I'm like, this will be incredible in the live environment. And I'm pretty sure I've never seen Epica live. So that's one for the future for sure. O'mega, it's out on the 26th of February via Nuclear Blast. Definitely check this one out. Even if you're not that big, like me, a fan of symphonic metal, check it out. It might change your mind. If you are a fan of the music and Epica overall, I think you're going to come away very, very pleased. But hey, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?